Hey, welcome to Real Talk, episode 85. I'm Todd, this is AJ, and we're back.
Yo, how you guys doing today?
Pretty good, I hope. You guys are here to listen to our podcast and watch our web series.
Yeah.
My mind froze for a second.
Welcome.
That was odd.
My mind always freezes.
We're really excited to be here for episode 85. If you're tuning in for the first time, maybe on the podcast, you just click on the latest one. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the fam. Welcome to the Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
So, what's Real Talk? It's an opportunity to talk about life, God, the Bible, and everything in between. And join us at our table as we discuss those things and to hopefully inspire you guys to have real talk with family and friends and people around you about the real things in life. You'll see a link above, www.theremnant.life/real-talk. Click
Boom.
it, go down to submit a question, tippity tap your question in, hit submit, goes into a database completely anonymous, could not find you if we tried.
Your face is a question mark in our minds.
Nice. At first I was unsure whether I liked that, but beard straw again.
Yeah, man, it's hard whenever you drink something with this thick of a mustache. It's just, you can't avoid it.
And every time I
try to be quiet about it because if it just sits there, it feels really uncomfortable. So I try to
Yeah, but you know that you always end up slurping.
Oh yeah, it's really hard not to.
Oh. So typically we like to start off Real Talk by talking about our life, how we're doing, maybe current events. We've never had
Current events like in our lives, you'd be like in the world.
I was trying to open it up.
We're talking about our life, current events. I was like, okay.
So, hey man, how's life going? What have you been pondering? What's going on in your life? Where is the Lord taking you on that journey of life?
Life of the journey.
If I say journey enough, it makes it
just a small town girl. You're welcome.
Living in a lonely world. All right, go on. We've already lost.
This week I took a midnight train. No. Yes. Anyways, for real. So I know, right? Me too. This week has been fast. I still deal with the passing of time. It just goes so quick. I feel like this probably isn't healthy because again, my mind always tells me not to talk about things. But I feel like every day, especially when it gets later into the day, I always find myself telling myself like, where'd the day go? Like, where'd the time go? And I feel like if I just say that every day out loud, people are like, what's wrong with you?
Why is that such a big deal to you? Like, to you? Not like, what? Why are you saying that? What's behind that?
I think it has something to do with me feeling like I just
waste life or what?
Not waste. Well, sometimes it's about wasting life, but
you say it almost every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what's behind that? Why are you saying that? What is the feeling? So like if I were saying that, I would be going, I wasted my day. I'm not where I want to be in life. I feel guilty maybe. Or is it some sort of existential, like what is going on?
I appreciate you saying those, like giving me those words because I think it helped me. Guilt, I think is a big one. Guilt of either not being in the moment throughout the day or feeling like, just the same. And what I mean by the same is like I feel like I didn't complete what I should have or I didn't do enough, And I think
who? Are you guilty? Who's the person sitting up on the seat judging you in that? In your head, is it you?
It's me. It's me, but I think I also take I'll take situations of from before, right? Like if I make the same mistakes, I'll hear those all the time. Whether it's you don't think about these things or you don't do this. I'm like, so I take those and it amplifies it in my mind.
Because there's always this thing with time with you, which I'm not even. If everyone's like, why are you being mean to him? I'm not. I'm genuinely curious. Because everyone's like, talk to me, DJ.
It's not true. He's not mean to me. Just kidding. Did you say yes? I am.
Yeah.
The one time I try to publicly back you and you go, I'm so mean.
No, I said
yes, I am.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it always comes back to relating to time is because I guess time is valuable, and it does matter what you do with it. And I think for me, I find myself, it's not that I don't think I waste it, I just don't spend it well. Like, in the sense of, like, I don't do a good job of spreading it to places I need to.
The reason I'm asking these questions, so for this to be a consistent thing for you, right? Like you say every day.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But
it's every
then,
day.
what have you ever asked yourself, if I did this by the end of this day or this part of the day, it would not be a waste overall?
I think a lot of it has to do with, like as far as things.
Well, I mean, what makes you? Is there anything in your mind where you would say it wasn't a waste of time? Is there an ideal day where it's not a waste of time?
I think a lot of it has to do with affirmation of what I've done. You know?
So if people like what you did, it wasn't a waste of time.
I think so.
You see,
Which is really
that's
unhealthy.
exhausting, man. Because like, the only way you know whether your life has meaning
Is
in the
when
big
people say
picture
it
is
is.
if they say it does.
Yeah.
Which is,
I rely on people a lot.
I don't think it's wrong to want affirmation, man. I want affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and it's really good, honestly, that you admitted that to yourself and to everyone in the world. It's just, is that realistic? Or are you even asking people? There's a lot of things I could say. Are you even giving people the opportunity to give you affirmation? So saying, hey, do you think this is good? Do you think it's not?
Mm-hmm.
Or, because I just think we have this tendency to self-edit. So you're like, well, I can't say that because then people will be annoyed. But so then you're just in
You're
this
right.
loop, man, where you can't get out of.
I get
So
caught.
it seems like.
I get caught in that loop, and I do constantly self-edit, and I'm trying to get better at that. You really opened my eyes a couple weeks ago. We had that good conversation at lunch of self-editing. I'm trying really hard to not self-edit, but I'm still doing it a lot. I find myself self-editing in almost everything, I feel like, which is really weird. Because I guess it was almost just it was just a state of being. And so now that my eyes have been open to it more, I'm starting to realize that I feel like I self-edit almost all the time, which is, like you said, it's kind of exhausting. I think that's why I find myself anxious, and I find myself not having much to say a lot of the time, which is weird. But cool. Like, it's cool that I've noticed this,
Sure.
And you helped me do that because, like you said, you mentioned the self-edit, and I was like, I didn't even think about that. And now that I've seen it, now it's like, it's almost overwhelming because I'm like, oh man, I self-edit all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of it, right? Like, maybe that's part of why I'm going through this period of feeling like time is being wasted. Maybe it's because, I'm so busy constantly doing that self-edit that the day's just gone. I didn't even say anything.
A lot of it's in your own head, even.
Yeah.
Like, I've wasted time. I'm guilty of that.
Uh-huh.
I can get lost in my head.
Yeah. Which is weird though, because even when I'm lost in my head, I think that's when, the self-editing isn't there. But I even feel like sometimes, and maybe I'm just crazy, who knows? But I feel like even in my own head, like, it's even like self-editing your own mind sometimes.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I know
Like,
exactly what I mean.
so like, and then maybe that's, I think, so then when you're doing that constantly, like the time is just gone because you didn't realize how much time had passed when you're just sitting there in your head doing all that.
Yeah, so let's define self-editing for people
Yeah.
that are watching. So it's
absolutely.
the concept of, what I mean by that, and I think is the idea of, we got to back up because we used it in our own head. So if someone says, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're really depressed. And so you think that, but before it gets to your mouth to say I'm depressed or I'm struggling, you go, that sounds stupid. People are going to think that's dumb. Or I shouldn't say that. So then out of your mouth just comes, I'm okay.
Yep.
Or, hey, you say, hey, I'm sad. And maybe the reason you're sad is I said something that hurt your feelings earlier in the day. And I genuinely ask him, and you're like, okay, I could say that, but that's going to make me look like a child, so I can't say that. So I'm just going to say, oh, nothing, it's just me. So it's the editing process from your mind and your real feelings before it gets out of your mouth to communicate to someone else. Now, some self-editing is good. There's situations where you can't spill it out to the whole world.
Yeah.
So if a random stranger says, how are you doing? Typically, they don't mean it the way that a good friend would mean it.
That's a good.
So that's self-editing in your own head.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me if you're wrong. I think it comes in where you start beating yourself up for even having thoughts. So like, what's
Yes.
wrong? Or what's wrong? I'm sad. That's stupid to be sad. And then you're having this almost inner dialogue of
That
in your
happens a
head.
lot to me.
Which, if you've never had this, which I think everyone has, but
To an
if you're
extent,
not aware of
absolutely.
it, you're gonna. This sounds crazy, but this is This is what our minds do. Which, by the way, I think is why it's so beneficial at times to invite people into the conversation. Does that make sense in your
Which
mind?
is not. I'm not very good at that.
Fun turn, Clint. Does that make sense? The definition you think for people? Okay, he says yes. He's pretty cutthroat. He'd tell us if it wasn't. Which I appreciate that he is.
Absolutely, man. Good dude. So, and I think a big part of it is, I like how you said it's like this inner dialogue in your head, and you said there's good times for it. Let me ask you this before I kind of go on any farther. Do you think that self-editing can be good in the sense of like if you feel like something is negative and you don't want to?
Absolutely. As a Christian.
Yeah.
Because there are thoughts that I have. I love the question. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think
Yeah.
that's a great point to bring up for people. So there are times that we clearly shouldn't say everything we think.
Yeah. Like
That's sinful thoughts, right?
exactly. Like if you're angry or like
Yes.
and like your mind goes, you idiot, but you don't say that.
Yes, exactly. I think, man, intrinsically we know. Like if you and I are processing something and you're self-editing before it comes out, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're walking down the road and someone cuts you off and you have that word that comes to your mind, it's good to not say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great point because we don't want to create. Your emotions are liars. Your emotions are liars a lot of times. That's just reality. They lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions are a blessing. I'm a very emotional guy. I get it, but they do lie. And you can't trust it all the time. So, but I think that's going back to self-editing. Sometimes you got to share that with people you trust,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can help you not let it become reality.
That's
That
so
makes
good,
sense?
man. You're right, and like
Yeah.
that's so much easier said than done,
Sure.
which I hate. I don't use the word hate a lot, but I do hate that. I hate that I struggle with letting people in a lot, even if I know people for a long time. Like, and I think it's just because for some reason, like I don't know if justify is the right word. I'll use it for lack of a better term, but like I justify the idea that like I shouldn't be where I'm at in my head. Does that make sense? Like,
Sure,
I
and
shouldn't
that is
be
a good
here.
word. You're saying you're justifying not sharing it or whatever because you shouldn't even have that thought.
Exactly.
But that's self-editing in and of itself.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like a constant self-edit process, and like that is exhausting. And I guess and I think you're right. I think there's a lot more pride in myself than I even realize, because then I go like, that is a pride thing. Because then I go, well, you shouldn't be exhausted because of that, and so then like it just keeps going.
You said,
It's an endless road of justification and pride and not
well,
wanting
and
to-
also beating yourself up. Even that, you
Yeah.
shouldn't do this. You're not allowed to have this thought or feeling.
Mhm.
And that's listen. I'm all about at times setting your face like a flint, and just doing stuff. But if something is hindering you over and over, man, sometimes you gotta invite people into that. I think that's what the Bible means in Galatians 6:2 when it says, "Carry each other's burdens." I do think it's real burdens sometimes, like you need food, money, whatever. But I think
Right.
sometimes it's that. It's those things that you're struggling with. And yeah. Anyway, I appreciate you sharing this stuff because I think it's a lot of people. I think you don't give yourself credit because I think most people at one time or another find themselves in what you're describing, but
Yeah.
they won't. They've become so they won't share it. They become so used to self-editing that they don't even notice it.
And like I want to, well, I appreciate that. First off, I don't want to skip over that. I appreciate you saying that because it doesn't feel that way. But I also want to become better at not self-editing, like away from this too. Like like we say, like I think there's times where I personally, since we do this show, at usually it's twice a week, not currently, but now that we're doing it once a week, it's still you're sharing your life with people, in front of a camera, and like. It's not that that's a bad thing, obviously, because we still do it.
Sure.
But it's more like I want to be able to also like not self-edit and have those away from this too. Does that make sense? Like I want to be able to come off camera and still be able to do that stuff. And I think that's where I can almost become shelled in a sense. And I don't know if this is just me trying to justify to myself, but I think part of it. I think I've kind of pulled back in a sense of like away from the camera because one, if I talk about it, I feel like I'm a weirdo where I won't remember to talk about it here for the show.
You can't do that.
I know that's not good, but like I feel like I do that sometimes, and that's why I said like I think that's just
So
a weird.
then you're just you're doing what we're telling everyone else not to do, just so we can do it on the show. Like, I'm not gonna talk because I need it for the show. You're miserable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's weird, and I don't think I do that all the time, but I think I do it sometimes, and that's not good because then I'm like, "Ooh, I don't have anything to talk about," that's so ridiculous. But
no, I mean I get the idea of it.
yeah, I think I do that sometimes, but then I think I also just, yeah, man, I don't know. I think I just get caught up in that shell, and I just don't come out of it sometimes, and like that's just not healthy, and yeah. And again, like it's not even like for those of you listening or watching, it's not even the fact that I'm in a bad place. It's not like I wouldn't say I'm necessarily sad. It's just more like having these realizations of like, man, like it is very easy to just keep on slipping back into like those old shells that you have or what you're used to. Or like for me, like I said, like, I didn't become a believer until I was like 20, 21. Now I'm 25, and that's 20 years of trying to break this mold of what I'm used to.
Man.
And what you grew up in and what you were around. And like, I guess for me, I often find myself thinking that I shouldn't have to deal with that, but I forget that I had to do that for 20 years.
So yeah, giving yourself some grace in that.
Yeah, and I think I struggle with that. And I think the reason why is because, and again, this is not healthy, it's because of, I hate trying to say things because I'm not trying to boast. I hate, because I try not to like feel like I'm being boastful or like arrogant. Thank you. Like I feel like I've kind of grown into a place rather quickly, and like I've been given responsibilities quickly, and like it's not that I'm against that. It's more like when that happens, I feel like that sense of responsibility kind of it overshadows that grace sometimes.
Do you think this is where it gets deep? Do you think that's what creates Christianese church culture, that everybody starts to feel that way, and then it turns into something? So it's like, well, I've got the responsibility, I've got to be this way, and then they stop doing what they knew and felt to be true from the beginning about being genuine and about being, having grace and all those things.
Absolutely, that's definitely how it creates that culture, and like I don't want to be part of that culture. So
it gives you empathy, for pastors and stuff sometimes, about how you can get in a situation where you feel like I can't share with people because I can't be here. I'm supposed to be this far ahead or whatever else it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think unintentionally doing that, you actually stop connecting with the people that you once connected with. So in your attempt to lead them better, you end up leading more poorly because they sense that you're not as genuine as you used to be.
Dude, that's so good. You're right.
I mean, I felt the same thing at times.
Mm-hmm. And
sometimes and don't get me wrong, you can't share everything with everyone. I mean, I get it. But it is a thin line. Before you know it, you're not sharing with anyone.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Like, that thin line is there because then even like people who you're close to, you stop, and it's like that's when like, okay, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, just kind of unraveling my brain, or trying to anyway. So I guess that's my week as far as like how I've been feeling or what I've been dealing with. Overall, it's still good. In a good place, doing a lot of things. There's a lot coming up, which can be overwhelming, but also really exciting if I let it be exciting. if I don't let my mind take it over and make it bad. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up. I'm excited. How's your week?
I was actually thinking about what you said. You just reminded me of making a note of something else to share, because you just reminded me.
Sometimes my words create thought.
So I appreciate you sharing that, man. And like I was being genuine when I was entering into the conversation.
Absolutely.
I think that I have empathy. I understand some of what you're feeling, particularly the part where you feel like I shouldn't feel this. And then before you know it, the whole reason why we started this stops being true in our own lives, because you feel like you can't, you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And truth is, we're all on a journey, following Jesus, hopefully. And if you're not there, hope that you will, because that's the only real road, and the rest of them are just distractions.
Yes. And it makes me sad, because then, like, even then, like what I said earlier about, like, I'll save it for the show. It almost feels like you're playing a character and not just being you. And that's so sad, dude. And, I don't want to do that.
I don't think you play a character, man. But I know that I get it. Excuse me. So sorry, guys. I get it. Of why? Because anything you do, it's kind of like when professional athletes. They say, you lose something. That's why most professional athletes that I've heard have said that the best time of playing the sport in their life was in college, right? Or high school, whatever. And when they get paid to do it, things change. They still love it, but it's different. And it's a little different here, but it's like when things become part of what you do, you can lose the meaning of why you did it, or it can become something else. So I think it's good that you even have those thoughts, and that's what we're trying to do in front of people too, is having those thoughts and processing them. As far as me, so it does feel weird sharing this to people because it's like they only see us once a week.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if we're dealing with the same thing, we're like, man, those guys are always sad. It's like, no, we had 6 other days where we had a bunch of different things happen.
Yep.
But I think I want to give an update on last week. So I think last week I shared that I had this, I think it was last week, where I was in this weird place where I wasn't like spiritually down or anything. I just didn't have this sort of a sadness. I don't remember exactly how to describe it, but eventually I realized early this week, and I told you and the guys, like a couple of days ago, I was like, man, I'm just sad. Now, before I continue, I'm not depressed because I know that difference. That's where everything's hopeless. I didn't feel hopeless. I just felt this kind of melancholy sadness. And I wasn't sure, and I still am not entirely sure where it came from or where it's come from. Today's been better. Yesterday was better. So I don't know how to describe it. Sort of a melancholy sadness, and life just lost a little of its luster for a second, and I'm not entirely sure why. You guys know I've been processing with you. I don't know why. I do have some of it's been some negative thoughts I've had. I struggle with that. If you're out there and you have negative thoughts about yourself, I'm no different. I think sometimes people think if you come, I've been, Todd, you're really confident, or you're this and that. And it's funny because if you were to ask the Todd inside me, he would be like, no, he's not. Because I have the same doubts and thoughts, and I know all my flaws, and I know all these things. So some of it's that. Some of it is interacting with some friends from back home. I don't know, man. It kind of is tied to the sentimental stuff. I get sad. Some of my friends and I are so different now, and then you start wondering, were you always different? Because we all grow in different ways. And I think, and this just came to me, sometimes I think when I see social media is both good and bad, and you see where some of your friends are and where you're at, without even putting value on which is better, there's a melancholy sadness in the fact that you're so far away from each other, and you've grown in different ways, and you might not even be friends if you met today. And these are your best friends, right?
So odd.
These are your best friends. That's surreal to me sometimes, and I think that makes me sad. It's not because they're bad or in a bad place. It's just like, man, how it's weird to think about that. But today is better. So I've been kind of weirdly, and you know this. If we're gonna be real, I've been processing that with you guys for a couple days.
Yep.
So today and yesterday were better, and I wasn't like, whoa. Sad. Other random thoughts I have, guys. By the way, in case you think we are playing a character, you can attest to this. Both of us are similar in this way. I am constantly thinking, and sometimes people will ask me to share what I've been thinking, and then when I do, they're overwhelmed. Because I'm quiet. Believe it or not, even though I'm kind of loud and boisterous, I'm pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Unless I have something to say or I'm playing sports or joking around. So I don't share all these things because I think people feel like, holy moly, how are you surviving thinking all those things? I don't know. My mind is just you know this to be true. My mind is all over the place.
It is, man.
So that was one. Two. So this week, I preached a message called Gifted.
That's right. Check it out.
It was on the body of Christ and the idea of spiritual gifts and how we all have them. The Bible tells us that. What are spiritual gifts? They're things that God has given you through the Holy Spirit to bless the body of Christ, to bless the church, to serve. And there's a whole bunch listed there, all the way from serving to leadership to, oh man, how my mind's blanking, to wisdom and knowledge and all these things. And in it, I have to preach what I feel the truth is and know it to be true. And in Scripture, the idea of speaking in tongues, which can be, I feel like it's like an unspoken thing that separates two. I think one of the first separations that occurs within the church as far as differences is that idea of being charismatic or not. Charismatic is the idea that all the gifts are still active. All the gifts, and that includes healing and all those things. And those who say it doesn't. And within those, once you're branched off there, there's little mini branches.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the, so for some reason, what seems to be one of the main things people talk about is the idea of speaking in tongues. That like becomes the symbol of everything else.
God.
So, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
So to be clear, I think that, I believe that God does what he wants to do, and I think miracles still happen, all those types of things. But in it, I talked about the idea of, it was pretty, it's probably going to upset some people on both sides.
No.
But particularly in the sect about tongues, because I think it's done incorrectly in a lot of churches. So, for instance, if you've went to a church or go to a church where more than one person is speaking in tongues, we won't even define what that is yet. Go check it out if you want to know what I personally think and what we taught from that. By the way, you guys can read 1 Corinthians chapter 12, 13, and 14. Really kind of talks about all this, spiritual gifts and stuff, and in Romans 12 as well. But we talked about what it looks like. If you go to a church where multiple people are speaking in tongues at the same time, I have been to one. My first girlfriend, that's not true. My first adult girlfriend, kind of like at age, 18 to whatever, adult, whatever. She went to a church like that, and I went with her, and it was wild, man. And that's not biblical to do it that way. Paul says that it should be one at a time, and if you don't have an interpreter, it shouldn't happen, right? If someone can't understand it,
Right.
That's not even defining what I think, tongues is. So anyway, anytime you do that, even if even when I said in it, I said, listen, this doesn't separate. People can still believe in Jesus and be off in this area. There are probably areas that I am not entirely. I don't know everything, but I know that that's such a big deal for people that they want to fight about it. And so why am I bringing all this up? So I had these doubts, man, of after it. And I am pretty bold. I'm a fighter by nature. I'm not afraid. But man, I was like, gosh darn it. You get a little nervous about the possible flack you're going to get from it, from both sides. Because I also believe that that spiritual gifts are active, of course, clearly, and that there's some on the other side that won't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I felt like it was important to do because it also, I truly feel like sometimes in some of those churches where that's really pushed, because there are denominations that believe every believer should speak in tongues. They believe in something called a second baptism of the Spirit. I won't get too much into it, and essentially it's the idea that you're saved, but then you kind of get supercharged, as some of them would say, where the Spirit comes down and touches you, and then you're talking and you're speaking in tongues. And
that's right.
I don't believe that to be true. I don't see any evidence of that. Paul says in chapter 12, does everybody speak in tongues? Does everybody, and I think the idea is no. But that isn't even the biggest issue for me. I think it's okay to desire that to a degree. But it can change the culture of a church and create a have and haves not, or an elite and a not elite. I don't mean to preach the same sermon. My point is all this. I guess I should say it for the podcast people, finish in the web series people. I think that can be dangerous because then people are saying, what's wrong with me? Why am I not speaking that way? What's wrong with me, God?
That's right.
What's wrong with my faith? And I think that slowly changes the gospel to a me-centered thing, where it's about what I do versus God. Yeah, you earn it. So that's why I brought it up. All that to say, so I got a little nervous, man. It was weird for me. And I told you that, I'm pretty sure. And I even talked to some of our elders and one of our other elders and was like, man, I'm like, should we take it off Facebook? Put it on the website, but take it off Facebook. Because I do believe the teaching's biblical and right. And, again, I'm not perfect on everything. And so I'm just kind of wrestling through that a little bit. And it's funny, man. It doesn't matter who you are out there. People have doubts. And if you go to another church, make sure to give your pastor encouragement. Especially if something impacts you, because I was thinking about that too. How many times I've just assumed growing up when I went to church that the pastor felt good about his teachings and messages because he did it. And so it's like, well, he seemed fine. And it's like, man, they need encouragement too and be lifted up and built up.
It's really good. I'm sure it probably changed a lot of your perspective after you started doing it.
Oh, man. You're not kidding. So I was so arrogant when I was younger. Some people are like, you still are. Maybe. But I was really. So that was one thing. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to really be real with you.
Yeah, man.
So that was a weird little moment of insecurity I had. With that, time to flip the script.
Okay.
Time to share some. I don't know if we've ever talked about this.
Okay.
So I was kind of sharing how I was sad, and I was reminded in the midst of that, and I'll give her a shout. I think I get encouragement from many people, but Mandy brought this up to me about where we came from, and I'll give her a little shout out for that at least. And it was good. I started thinking, and this was about church in general and like what's happened, and I was saying how I kind of felt that way. I've shared with a lot of people. I kind of feel like a loser. That was the lie I've been dealing with for the past week. That word was in my head. You're a loser. Isn't that funny? It doesn't affect that we all get that we have these words. Are you with me right now? Or are you doing that thing where you're staring and thinking?
No, I'm with you.
If you know AJ, he has an uncanny ability to do that. You must be hyper-focused.
Yeah.
Kicking in. Refocus, I mean. Anyway, so, and it was kind of pointed out what happened here. And listen, I stink. I do a lot of things. I'm very flawed. I've sinned. I've messed up.
Yep.
But you know what, man? Pretty proud of what we've done here.
Absolutely.
So let me explain to some people in case they don't know. Because I think I'm always afraid to seem cocky, so I don't ever talk about good things.
That's right. I'm the same way.
Even though it wasn't me. I want you guys to understand that this ministry, if you're watching Real Talk or listening for the first time, it's a ministry of the Remnant Church, which, by the way, the Remnant has its own podcast page now. If you want to listen to messages, just type in the Remnant Church, right?
Yep. It has our fancy R.
Yep. And you can listen to past messages or whatever. But, first of all, I had no plan or intention of starting a church. Okay? Never wanted to do that. I wanted to be a lawyer or a football coach. That's what I wanted to do. Or I wanted to travel and speak to men because I do like from a Christian perspective.
Motivational speaker.
Yeah. What the heck was that? But dude, where we have a building, we are doing really well attendance-wise.
It's surreal.
This is what I do full-time now, even though for 5 years I worked full-time and did something else. We have land, we're building, and we had no denominational support. We had zero.
Nope.
No funding from a denomination. And here we are. No, and not that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, if I were to plant a church today, because I wouldn't even call it that, I would do so many things differently. Mm-hmm. But I'm really proud of what we've done here and very proud of you and proud of our church and our congregation for what we've accomplished. And I give all glory to God, I do. But, it still took a willingness to walk. And I'm proud of what we've built here. And I think a lot of times we always want to be better.
Yeah.
But, man, we have built something special. And God has done something crazy that makes no sense. And to be where we're at, man, is just mind-blowing to me.
Oh, dude.
And to think that 7 years ago it didn't even exist.
Yep.
In the big scheme of things, that's not a long time.
No, not even close, man. I think one of the funnest episodes of Real Talk, including this and live, was when we had a guy named Jeff come on.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was here towards the beginning of you guys building all this, and he got to come, and he came here, and you said he was just blown away by just everything that's happened since he's been gone. And it's so cool, man, like, just to hear his perspective, and this was like a year ago, it's because so much has happened even since then, but it was just so cool to hear his perspective from where things were and where they are now, and just how blown away even he was, because like you said, I think a lot of the time we can get sucked into like where we are right now, and we feel like we don't get to go on the outside looking in a lot of the time. So like we're always just like, how can we get better? All the which is fine. But then
we're gonna keep doing that
exactly. And so to have someone like Jeff come and go, wow,
from the beginning till now, and I think that's what it gave me yesterday in that conversation was to go, whoa. Because even look around, you can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. You can't see what's happening. Mm-hmm. The big picture because you focused on all the little things. And man, what an incredible. So that was something cool that happened last night that I was like, you know what? You're right. Maybe I do stink. but this didn't, and I was a part of this, and it's been just such an amazing ride, man. And we're, Lord willing, we're not done yet, so we're pretty excited, and I'm very thankful. And as I've been thinking of what took us here, so you said Jeff, this just came to me, and what he saw, it's just the different people going back to gifts. Here's the journey we're on. All of a sudden, these people join, and these people join, and they bring their gifts and their passions, and then you join, and Fun Turn, and all these people, of course Tim, and all these different people throughout our lives. There's tons of people. Every team
it's
we're on,
insane,
and all bringing their individual gifts to this body, which then has enabled it to go where it's gone. And man, we're excited to see where it goes.
It's so surreal.
It's pretty crazy, man. Very thankful for that. So I encourage you guys out there, when you're feeling bad about yourself, you're feeling like, I don't know, you can't see the good, take a second and look at where you're at. Because, maybe you're in a tough spot, but one, you're still breathing, and that's something. But a lot of you have accomplished so many incredible things in your life, and you're so busy seeing all of your flaws that you forget how amazing you really are. And I'm telling you, I know some of the people that watch this, so you're amazing, and you should believe that and know it and be confident in that. Because, golly, you have done some things that if we made your life a movie, despite people would watch it. You know what I mean? Yeah, they would, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's crazy to think about, man.
Rambling over.
No. That's just really good. I'm really glad that you were able to do that, because I didn't know that. That's awesome, man.
Which part?
That you were able to reflect last night and go, wow. That's super cool, man, because I know a lot of the time, like you said, you can get caught up in just being on the inside and looking at your own flaws and your own failings or whatnot, and forget where we were and where we've come from, and it's pretty surreal, man. So I'm really glad you got to experience that, because I'm sure that was really just a re-energizing and
well, it was just perspective. It made me go, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm so aware of my need for God. And sometimes the enemy can try to use that even in a negative way of going, yeah, you're nothing and garbage and all these things. It's like, listen, compared to Jesus, I am. But I've been a part of some pretty cool things. And so have you.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
Encourage yourself, man. Look around.
Mm-hmm.
We went back and watched some of the older episodes. We watched the first one the other day, a part of it. And to see that and where we're at, pretty cool.
In less than 2 years, too. It's pretty crazy.
Nuts. Anyway.
Thanks for sharing, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for listening and asking. I have other things to talk about, but that's another time. I've been just a preview of thoughts I've been having. I'm fascinated recently with the idea of social media culture. So podcasters or YouTubers, big-time YouTubers who are doing podcasts now. Fun Turn Clint, he'll rock the TikTok. Boy, he loves getting his TikTok shot in the morning. I heard him this morning even. I started thinking about these people, man. And some of the people I see, because they'll do sort of their behind the scenes or they live a surreal life, because you know how you mentioned it's hard for me to know whether I'm doing good unless I'm getting validation. Picture some of those guys who don't know God, they don't have purpose. And even if they're millionaires, their entire life is dictated by the likes and dislikes of a crowd. And imagine the pressure that you have to feel.
Dude, I've read, watched a video about this, of some of them. Like how they're like, man, I worked on this video for 10 hours, man. Like, I hope this goes well. And like when it doesn't, like it hurts.
And they see the comments, man.
Yeah.
That people write. And
that's hard.
It's wild. Can you imagine that? Anyway, that's probably another show. But I think that's pretty crazy.
That'll be an interesting conversation. I like that.
But we do have a couple questions to dive into. As you guys know, part of Real Talk is giving our thoughts or answering questions asked by you about life, God, the Bible, or anything in between. So we're going to kind of dive in.
Let's get it.
And I have a few more. Thank you to those who continue to add to our database and share your thoughts and questions. That helps us to know what to discuss. Here we go.
All right.
I guess I'll start here. Explain a time or describe a time when you have felt pushed beyond your capabilities as a leader, and how did you overcome this difficulty?
Man, so I feel like, this is just me and my brain. Like I was telling you guys earlier, I can I broke for a second.
You speak good. Me too.
Let me put my chip back in. There we go. I can often feel like I'm not adequate as a leader all the time. So even just being, a part of this media ministry here and trying to, lay groundwork for the future, like that stuff I never feel adequate to do that. How do I overcome that? Man, I still struggle. I find myself feeling like I'm behind a lot. The times where I don't is when I get to have good conversations about, who I am and what I am capable of. Is as long as I keep pushing myself, as long as I keep going and not stopping and keep walking, So just for me, it's a lot of the time it's just encouragement. um, Another big thing that I did that I never thought I'd do is I managed to put on a show here called The Region. That was really cool, and that's something that is, supposed to continue. So, but that was something I never thought I'd be able to do, and that was just how I got through that was just doing my best to try to get help where I could. I'm very stubborn though, so it was really hard because I wanted to do a lot of it myself, but I realized that I'm just not the best at planning and all these things. So asking for help was huge. So I guess to summarize what I was saying here is ask for help and talk about it. Get the encouragement you need. Because when you try to do those things alone, like I almost feel like unless you're a very strong-willed person, which even when you are, it can kind of like if you're not putting yourself out to help people support you, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure in a sense. So I guess that's my take on it.
I'm trying to think of specifics. There's a lot of them. I remember one of the times that come to mind early on is we had a baptism service early on, and it was one of the times when our team had really grown, and that day the weather took a turn for the worse. We'd already set up. There's actually pictures used to be of us like holding the tent down, and the team felt pretty discouraged, some of the team, and they were kind of panicking, and it did feel overwhelmed. What are we going to do? Do we keep doing it? Do we cancel? People were already showing up. That's sort of symbolism in general. And what I ended up doing that day, and I think this is a great leadership, this is something I've learned in leadership in general, is one of the biggest things. Do you want to know one of the biggest traits of a leader? A leader is just willing to make a decision. I'm serious. That sounds so simple. A leader is willing to make a decision. You always hope it's the best decision, but you're willing to make a decision because a lot of times people are frozen and they don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So Teddy Roosevelt had a saying that says, when faced with an issue, essentially, the first is the best decision is the best choice. Next is the worst decision. Last is no decision at all. And he's much more eloquent. I have it written in a journal someday. But I think that for me, what I've learned when I feel overwhelmed as a leader, and as a Christian, it's almost easier in some ways because you're trusting God. But I recognize that the people have put their faith in me for a reason, even if I don't see it.
Yep.
So it's arrogant of me not to serve and do it. So I walk. Really I just
good,
walk.
It's convicting.
And just do it, you just do it. You lead. Lead is serving. Leadership is serving and making decisions and doing it and walking first and saying, okay, we're going this way, follow me. And yeah, absolutely. Most of the time, if you have time, you want to be able to get people on board and get them to see the vision of where they're going. But sometimes it's literally just making that decision and going forward and doing it. Regardless of, and trusting that even if something unexpected comes or it doesn't go the way you want, you'll adjust as needed. So I think that's it. Being decisive, making a decision is always better than just sitting there. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, that's what I do. I just make a decision. And that's something that I think I've shared this on here before, but I had a mentor tell me this one time. He said, Todd, if you want to change direction of a ship, you have to start moving, right? A big ship doesn't turn. You can't turn a ship in water just immediately. You have to pick a direction, and then you can slowly adjust as you go. And I think that's the way it is with leadership. One other tip for leadership too, and I came to this place, and I really believe I can remember the moment. I'm not going to share it because it involves someone else.
Yeah.
But the moment when I stopped caring stop trying to get every single person on board is the moment I became a better leader. There was a day, and this sounds so harsh, when I had this person was arguing. I used to feel like arguing with me, and I used to be like, oh, I gotta make you happy, and okay, I'll make you happy, and I'll try to run around. And I eventually came to a point. I said, do what I asked you to do.
Yep.
And that was a turning point for me, because even though the person was upset, you know what's weird? When I found out they did it.
Yep.
And I think it makes them the life easier for the people that are following you. Even if they don't like it in the moment, it makes their life easier because you've made a decision. Does that make sense out there? It's hard. Man. We're talking about leadership in general.
Yeah.
So that's a few things, maybe not specific. Moving on.
Moving on. Put your chip back too. Here you go. Just had to hit the reset button.
Do you think God sometimes changes our spiritual gifts? Is it possible to have one gift for a period of time and then God change where you are gifted as long as it is to benefit the body where they need at that time?
I don't think he changes them. I think we just discover more through time with more faith that we have. And I think anything can come into practice. Once you start falling out of practice of things, those things are going to decline. But as far as him changing things, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, for me, whether it's change or he's bringing to life another gift in you, or sometimes he's just equipping you for that specific moment.
Right.
Either way, the end result is I absolutely believe God can equip you to do what's needed in that moment.
Absolutely.
And for that purpose. And I think that's faith sometimes, is stepping into those moments. So that's a great question, though. I really like that question.
Me too.
Okay. Nothing.
What'd I do?
No. Why do you may sound sad like I beat you up? There it goes again.
No, I was just asking.
I'm tired of getting messages that Todd's mad at Meanie and AJ, so I'm not. I was just laughing about something. Clint's like, we'll have to cut that one too. Now, Todd looks grumpy. I am grumpy when people constantly tell me that I'm being mean to AJ. So
he's not mean to me. I'm telling you right now.
Should I talk like this? And then it's okay?
Listen, I get weird tones when I ask questions sometimes.
What? You mean like the
What'd I do?
Where the one where I beat you? Like, he's going to hit me when the camera goes off. It's like, no. This is, what are some ways, you should start reading some of these, by the way, not just me. What are some ways, that was me being mean again. What are some ways I can actively create community around me?
Invite others into your life.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
If you have something you like to do, or if you have something to discuss, invite others into it.
How do you invite them?
Reach out.
I'm just trying to think if they genuinely are curious and don't know,
Yeah. I think, messaging people, inviting people into, say for dinner or for lunch and getting to know people better, or, you have an activity you like to do, inviting people along to do that activity. That's a good place to start.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, man. Creating a community involves risk because you can get rejected.
Exactly.
And I think that's why a lot of people, where they kind of go off it, or they get discouraged. They're like, there is no community here. The places are cliquey, and it's like, no, you can't say that. Or I've had people say, well, I tried to ask someone. I was like, oh, when? Well, I asked them yesterday, 1 hour before I wanted to do this, and they couldn't do it, so now I'm never asking again. It's like, just keep, community doesn't even mean you have to be best friends with everyone, but it does mean, creating opportunities, inviting people, taking risk.
Yep.
I'm so sorry, guys. Excuse me. These mics pick up everything. Anytime you're going to face rejection.
Yes, at
and
some
people
point.
don't want. I don't like that. No one likes to ask someone to do something and they say no. I just actually reached out to a high school buddy and said, "Hey, man, I want to get together with you." I felt so dumb. It felt weird doing it, but I did miss the guy and want to talk to him and catch up in life. So he responded, but I had to fight that urge because I almost did it. And I think that's why we end up alone a lot. We just don't want to face rejection. So creating community is what he said. Invite people over to dinner. Ask people to go with you to the store. Ask people to go. This is a big one. Ask people to go on errands with you. If you're gonna go, if you got to go to Fort Wayne, you can tell where we're from, the big city, wherever your place is.
Yeah.
You need to go into town. Invite people to go with you.
I like that.
Because honestly, a lot of times people are looking for those opportunities just to get to know people.
Hmm.
And don't take one rejection as like the final rejection. That person probably just wasn't supposed to be in your community. 9 there.
Next question. Do you think we struggle to find a balance between truth and love?
Yes, I do sometimes.
Me too.
I think if we define it, when the person that wrote this is probably truth is that hard stuff that's hard to hear, and love is that grace-filled side.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you can't really offer love without truth.
Dude, I was about to say that.
So I think that I do sometimes wonder if I say truth too harshly, because I do want to speak truth in love.
Yes.
But it's never loving to not tell someone the truth.
100%. You're right. And that's what I was about to say. I think I trick myself a lot of the time to not tell people the truth, to think I'm loving them when that's not loving them in the slightest.
It's good.
Because I'm a people pleaser by nature.
Yeah. And particularly culture now tells you that that's insensitive, right?
Yeah.
As though that matters. Because at the end of the day, truth is truth, and it is loving. What's more loving? Hey, I'm going to tell that person they're about to fall in a hole, or that might hurt their feelings because I'm going to tell them that their direction isn't right. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
No, I think the most loving thing is to tell them that.
Yep. Hey, you're going to get hurt.
It's kind of like that idea of a real friend is the person who tells you you have something between your teeth.
Yep.
Right?
You're
Oh,
right.
I didn't want to be mean. I was like, yeah, but you let me walk around with a seed between my teeth all day.
It looks dumb.
Because you didn't want to hurt my feelings.
Yep.
So, good. I bet we went long again today.
Yeah.
Where we at here? Fun turn. He's going to give me a sign. Oh, that's not long at all compared to last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll go one more.
Okay.
It's a weird day.
Oh, is it the silence? Is that why? Is that what you were laughing at
no,
earlier?
No.
Or is it the way I say things?
Sometimes, yeah.
That's fair.
But Todd is mean. Now watch the one where, if you guys haven't seen this, it's on our previous live ones where AJ took we did the Death Note challenge, which, by the way, hilarious. We're going to put that out.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it since then. It's absolutely hilarious. But I will never forget people attacking me, legitimately. You know who you are. Because I wasn't caring about you.
Oh, my gosh.
They wanted me to call an ambulance for you. And they're like, seriously. And I was sitting here going,
He's fine. And I was fine.
no, it's just funny that, like, you're a lovable guy, man. People are always like, the big mean Todd is letting AJ die. You know, and
I feel like
they forget that you were 2 feet from me.
I know. I need to set something straight right now. I am not a victim, okay? There may be times where I sound like I'm a victim, or like I try to play victim. I don't. It's just how I come across sometimes, and I don't mean to. I'm
It's
not
not
a
your
victim.
fault, man. I just know people, like, it's just so funny.
Yeah.
Well, dude, you're a lovable guy. People don't want the lovable guy to get hurt. But that one was funny because, like, I saw you. I was clearly, if you were dying,
Yes,
I
he would have done something.
I would have left.
Exactly. We would have said, we're cutting this out. We're going.
It's just so
funny.
But thank you guys for looking out for his well-being.
Yeah, thanks.
Here's a decent one, I think, for other people to see. It says, as pastors/leaders, what does your personal devotion time to God look like? And how do you balance devoting time to the church, but also making sure you're getting the time to let God grow you and heal your wounds? Are these two times separate for you?
This is something I'm still trying to learn, because this is all relatively new to me. I think you have to make time for that. Whatever is important to you, you're going to make time for. I think they are separate things. I know you've mentioned this before, that if you're doing something, work-wise for the church, your personal devotion time has to be different. It's not the same. So, like, I guess, for example, for myself, if I'm looking for a scripture to help something with a project, like, that's not me with my personal devotion time. I'm looking for something to help with, getting a message across to people. And people's needs are going to be different from mine. So I have to remember to get my own devotion time in and spend that time with God. God's always with me, but, it's different. It's different. I'm sure you can probably explain it better than me, but it's different. I guess I'll just leave it at that, because I'm sure you can add on to that.
No, man, I think that you were right on. I think for me that is a rule I try to follow. I can't remember if it was a mentor at some point, or if it was just in studying. Sometimes my mentors are church leaders, theologians that you read about and listen to their stuff. So yeah, the idea of I try to make those things separate.
Yep.
And take true time. Don't kind of take the easy way out and say, well, this my work time is counting as my personal devotion time.
Yep.
So is it difficult? Yeah, it's difficult sometimes because the line can get blurred. And it's okay. There's times that, God's going to certainly, a lot of times when I preach or something, I'm getting more out of it, or as much as anyone, I'm preaching to myself. But yeah, I think that it's certainly a challenge at times. I do try to keep it separate. One of the things I would encourage you guys is sometimes we get in this mindset that, well, I can't do an hour today, so God is mad at me, so I might as well not do anything. Or you kind of wait until you get that hour. And I always tell people, hey, start with 5 minutes in your devotion time.
Yeah.
Start with 5 minutes. That's easy. Quit worrying about the quantity, and let the Spirit guide you and worry about the quality. Is your focus in there? Are you taking time to truly just be there and
Such
focus?
a big life lesson, man, for real.
Yeah.
Because you said that like in devotion, but also just in life. Like, it doesn't matter if you can only spend 5 to 10 minutes on something. Are you putting 100% of the quality into it?
Yep.
So it's such a big life lesson.
It's good stuff.
Awesome.
Fun Turn, you got anything we should talk about? No? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the end of that.
That is the end.
You got anything you want to say to the folks at home?
Yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, share, comment on this. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you got any questions, hey, we got an anonymous link. Can't find you if we tried. www.theremnant.life/real-talk. Ask some questions, suggest a topic, tell us how you're feeling. Doesn't matter what you do. We'll see it. Anything else? Just thank you guys for watching. If you tune into the podcast, it's available on all big platforms, including Apple Podcast and Spotify. And hey, you want to hear this guy preach? That's also on Apple Podcast and Spotify under the Remnant Church.
Other people too.
That's right. Yeah, we got a couple other guest speakers on there, and there'll be some more added as well.
Yeah,
so,
including you.
And indeed, that's right. November.
Coming up.
Remember the 4th of November or whatever it is.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys, for watching and tuning in or tuning in. Help us out. We're really trying to reach more people. Are we going to knock every episode out of the park? No. But we hope that this feels like a time where you're just sitting at the table with some friends, goofy, weird, strange friends who are chatting up and talking about life, God and the Bible, and all that kind of stuff. So please like, share, give us a review if you're listening on the podcast, particularly if it's a good review. But yeah, not only review it, but share with people why you like it. For those of you that have done that, thank you so much. We do see that. So encouraging.
Yes.
Please share this video and give a brief thought of what you enjoyed about it, what you liked about it, what impacted you. That's going to lead to people wanting to check it out themselves.
That's right.
Also, I said this before and I'll say it again. We are open to continually growing and changing and making Real Talk into something that benefits you the most, those that listen or watch. So if you want to see this go a different direction, if you want to see more topics, if you want to see any kind of thing like that, give us some input.
That's right.
You can write in the comments in the thread below. We interact. We see those. You can also do it anonymously if you feel uncomfortable doing that, using the link that we gave you for the questions at www.theremnant.life/real-talk. You can give input there as well. Other than that, we love you. We appreciate you guys. If you know any cool guests or people you think would love to be on here and would be an interesting conversation to us, we're always open to that. You can shoot us a message through the link with contact info or a name, or even using our Facebook page, the church's Facebook page. Other than that, we love you guys. We hope you have a great day, and truly, God bless you.